Hello everyone. Have you ever come across people saying, try to walk there in their shoes for a mile? What happens after that? You walk for a mile, you're a mile away, and the shoes are with you. Right? Well, the second person who talks about this is definitely not empathetic. The former one is empathetic. I'm here to talk about empathy and give you a hack which you can practice it, which helps you to be more empathetic person so that you can understand what it's really to be in someone else's shoes. Now, being empathetic is actually a laborious task for your brain. So, we take the easiest way out, form a judgment based on our previous experiences. However, you may end up with the wrong conclusion most of the times. So if you're an animal lover or have a pet, you automatically become empathetic because of the love that you carry for the animal. So in that sense, you will shift your furniture to make room for toys, remove time for the evening walks, and some may go extra mile and also make changes to their lifestyles. So in that sense, they would plan their holidays and weekends accordingly. I know for people who have never taken sick leaves when they were unwell, but have taken multiple days off when their pet was unwell. But why should you listen to me? I am an empiricist innovator, somebody who believes firmly that understanding human traits is critically important for business success. My aim is to serve you with simple and powerful tools to decode the best practices in business and personal growth. I am an IIM Ahmedabad alumnus with Masters in General Management. As a supply chainer, I have over 15 years of experience, worked in telecom, pharma, OTC, and chemicals. So that's me. Give you a reason to talk about me later. Good things. Now, before I start to tell you how can empathy make you a millionaire in your life, it's important to understand the meaning first. I find many mix it up with sympathy. So sympathy is when you feel pity or sorrow for someone else's loss or misfortune. So it usually happens when you hear a death of a near dear one, or someone losing their job, or someone met with an accident. So when you actually feel empathy, there will be a lot of sharing, listening, and engaging. So if you come across an empathetic person or a professional, he will deal with the scenarios in a more action-driven and problem-solving way. So it's important for us to understand the difference between these two emotions. Sympathy simply ignites the pity and sorrow, and the emotion ends there. But empathy opens up a whole new world for you and helps you to witness it from someone else's point of view. For instance, violent crimes happen because the criminal has low level of empathy for the person he's harming. It would be safe to say that also the wars happen for the same reason. We think our ego is bigger than our attempt to show compassion and give solution to the world. History has established it. A great example of global empathy was the recent pandemic. COVID-19 did test this ability within all of us, the empathy. We have it in us, especially organizations. So organizations which adapted to work from home within their culture and technology has actually gained great impetus. We kept reading emails that said, nice to e-meet you. So company showed some empathy, maybe. Now, I want all of you to imagine the world like this without there being a pandemic or a war-like situation. What kind of work culture are we talking about? A culture where employees are given the opportunity to take a moment in a form of a nap or a leave. Being mom and dad in the company is celebrated, then being seen as an opportunity to step over your colleagues. A success of a colleague is looked at a collective success. Now, I can be almost confident and tell you that if you practice empathy on a routine basis, you'll be amazed how it ignites creativity, boosts morale, supersedes expectations, and the success then comes faster than you imagine, right? Now, moving ahead, one may ask that, empathy is okay, we all have it, but what's the return on investment on empathy for any organization? Well, the returns are widespread, but for this session, I would dive into two examples of ROI of empathy, internal and external. Now, as organizations, it's important to discuss uncomfortable issues, to see better bonding within the teams, and to arrive at a good growth. Harvard Business Review calls it stuckness. Now, stuckness happens in organizations when they end up tolerating average employees or toxic employees. There is a tension that leads to squandered energy and interpersonal fatigue. Companies pay a steep price in the form of demotivated culture, which costs them billions, let alone another billion to be invested to get the change done. Now, the only way out is to talk it out, right? And with a pinch of empathy, I will guarantee you it makes it simpler for organizations. From the external point of view, you can imagine if a business starts developing products and products packaging for the specially abled people in their portfolio. Imagine it opens up a whole new market for the company. Start generating revenues there. If you have a diverse representation in your culture, you would then have a mature product development ecosystem which addresses the diverse world. Now, having said that, the best thing about empathy is it could be taught. And guess what? I have found an easy way for you guys to actually practice and learn it as a skill. It's possible. I call it 7 stairs to empathy. So let's dive in. So the concept. First, lend your ears to feel than to listen. They say that if you lend your ears for 45 seconds in a conversation, you would start to hear emotions. Don't just listen to respond. Make the person feel heard. And the simplest of all, try to hear the unspoken, the body language. The next stair. Merge with the situation, not the person. There is a difference. Being in his shoes is different than being in his position. Merge with the situation towards understanding the desired solution. So merge with it with an intent to solve it. Next step, perspective, patience. Now, participation with patience in any conversation leads to perspective development. Try it. But bear in mind, it's never your perspective versus mine. You will always have bias for your perspective. Be consciously aware of it. Be non-judgmental, the least. Be cognizant of the fact that the person has perceived values for his beliefs and viewpoints. Do not write them off. The next step, ask, don't assume. Ask for more info. The essence lies in the detail. Your brain would want to assume, to catch up with the speed of thoughts, right? Consciously avoid it. Assumption leads to erroneous judgment, leads to either ignorance or over or undervaluation of the situation. Next and most important step, therapeutic communication. Now, therapeutic communication is an in-person communication technique which gives you an exceptional physical and emotional care with patients. So I learned this from the profession of medical. What I loved about the concept, in the entire concept, was the use of silence. I say that if we develop an intrinsic quality of intermittent silence in our dialogue, it just gives an opportunity to your brain to breathe and analyze the conversation you are in. Plus, it can allow your brain to address the distractions that are coming to your mind while you're having the conversation, address it, come back to the conversation. Simple. The most important step, heart and mind. So we have a concept and conflicting opinions basically is empathy from heart or mind. Does it involve both or none of them? To me, unless the mind is involved, it's not empathy. You need a heart to step into his shoes, but you need a mind to help him out. As simple as that. So it's heart and mind. Last but not the least, your views, your thoughts, your inputs, your concerns. A closure to a conversation is most important. If the person has not known that you have received his perspective, it's not an empathetical communication. Likewise, if you haven't communicated your thoughts about the situation to the person, I don't consider that as an empathetical dialogue to start with. In the end, I just leave you with a thought that if you practice these 7 steps, as I say, in your next conversation, it might just give you an ability to deal with the emotions in a structured manner, right? Most often what we do is we think empathy is about understanding someone else's feeling. No, it's also about understanding your own feeling so that you understand your own emotional turmoil and attain the peace that you need to with yourself. So, with this, when you practice this, you will understand and you will develop a third-person perspective for your own thoughts. And when you develop that ability, it will be easy to apply that ability with someone else as well. So I believe empathy is something that is needed for business, ever-changing world, so you need it for business, you need it for personal too. It could actually lead to a better world. Not only within yourself, within your family, but also to the world that you meet. So, climb the stairs daily, be emotionally healthy. I guarantee success will follow. Thank you so much.